Hi guys. Hello everyone. Please don't forget to turn your cameras on. I'm sorry. So please don't forget your cameras in order for us to start. Today we're gonna be starting working on the reading section. We already finished the writing section, so we'll be working on the reading section now. Okay. The reading section is the first one that you get in the test, and it's over 30 as all of the other sections. It's all multiple choice, which means that you will be reading some text and then answering multiple choice questions about them. And the format is a little bit strange. So how does the format of the reading go? The thing is, the reading and the listening are connected. How? In the reading, normally you would have to read 3 texts. These are academic texts that you have to read. And each text that you read contains 10 questions about the text, okay? So normally you will have 3 texts and each one containing 10 questions. But what happens? In the reading or in the listening, you will always have an extra task, an extra set of questions. Now, this extra task could go either in the reading or in the listening, and we don't know where it's going to be. It's different for every student, but there's always this extra task. So in case it goes into your reading section, then you won't have 3 passages anymore. You will have 4, okay? So in the reading, technically you could have 3 or you could have 4 passages or 4 texts that you have to read, each one containing 10 questions. That means that you will have a total of 30 or 40 questions. Is that okay so far? Does that make sense? Is that clear? Yes? Okay. Now, as for the time, this is also interesting and not so idea. What will happen is you don't have separate timers per passage. That means that you have only one timer for the entire reading section. You will have either 54 minutes or 76 minutes, depending on the number of passages you have. If you have 3, you get 54, and if you have 4, you get 76. All right? Now, that means that you would have 18 minutes per passage. This time, you have to control it yourself. Nobody is going to tell you you should stop and you should move on to the next passage. Nobody is going to do that. They will give you your 54 or 76 minutes and you have to organize your time. So you can never go over 18 minutes per passage, okay? The timer will be there counting down and you have to make sure that you're not spending more than 18 minutes in each passage. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about the format? Is that understood? No questions? Okay, guys. Now, the most important thing we can do here, the most useful thing we can do is take a look at the types of questions.
Teacher, I have a problem with the with somos nosotros.
I'm sorry, Alejandra. Okay, guys. Don't forget to turn your cameras on. So what I was telling you is that the most useful thing we can do here in the reading is take a look at the types of questions, okay? To be precise, there are 10 different types of questions that we will see. Vocabulary, detail, accept, inference, and so forth. But the most important ones, because of their frequency, that means because you will see more of these questions, are vocabulary and detail. Okay, so vocabulary and detail are the two most important questions because they appear the most. You can have 4, 3, or even 5 sometimes of these questions per passage, which is a lot, right? If you think about it. So unfortunately, with vocabulary questions, obviously there are a couple of strategies that we're going to see, but the majority of doing, the thing that influences the most on how you do in vocabulary questions is, of course, your vocabulary. So you need to start expanding your vocabulary from now on. You need to start reading as much as you can, academic topics, and identifying the words that you don't know, trying to understand their meaning by context. And if you can do that, then search the meaning, right? But you need to expand your academic vocabulary. But for the other ones, we're gonna see some good strategies too. Okay, guys? So any questions before we start? What we're gonna do is we're gonna be practicing using this material, official from the ETS. We're gonna be answering the first practice set, and which is about the rise of Teotihuacan. Okay? So I'm gonna send you guys the link to the text, and I will give you 3 minutes to read it. You shouldn't spend too much time reading the text because then you will run out of time when answering the questions, and that takes more time, or that should take more time. So what I'm going to ask you to do is please scan the text, okay? Look for the main ideas of the text. Forget about the details. Just search for the main ideas. Try to have an understanding of the overall content, and we will discuss. Okay, guys? I just sent you guys the link. You can open it, and I'm also gonna share it on my screen for those of you who want to read it from here. Remember, you will have 3 minutes, okay, guys? So please read. Okay, guys. So we're gonna talk about what we read. This is about the rise of Teotihuacan. So in your own words, what would you say this text was about? What was it about? What is it about?
It's about civilization.
Okay, it's about the civilization. And what exactly about it?
Teacher, may I explain what I understood?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I think that the it talks about a civilization that now is a part of uh, a city of Mexico, Mexico, but in the past, well, it's in the country of Mexico, right? But in the past, there didn't see it didn't exist exist Mexico. So this civilization lived in a valley that, but the name of the valley was Teotihuacan, the same as the civilization. And it talks that this civilization was rich. They had good, how can I say, constructions, the economy in the talking about the economic ways of this civilization was good because of obsidian and that.
Okay, great, Sebas, thank you. That's true. All of what you mentioned is correct. So it is about this Teotihuacan civilization. They lived in the Teotihuacan Valley and they discussed some factors and some things about it, right? So things like their resources, their economic situation, and so forth. Now, maybe one more thing to add there. I think that they focus a little bit on the development of the city, right? So how they developed, how they grew, how they arose, as the title says, right? So it's about like what led to the development, to the great development of the city, because according to what we have here, it was kind of like an important city, right? Now, the best tip that I can give you for reading, what I personally did, because I was struggling a little bit with time, in order to save time, read the first sentences of each paragraph. Okay, so read the first sentences. Don't read more. What I would do is I would start reading the first sentence, the second, and I would read up until I understood the main idea of each paragraph. And once I knew that I got the main idea, then I would stop reading and move on to the next paragraph. Because most of the time, the main ideas will be in the first sentences. So there's no reason why you should be reading everything when you can understand the main points from just reading a couple of sentences, okay? Remember that at the end of the day, you will always come back to the passage when answering the questions. So it's a waste of time to try to understand word by word what is being said here. Just try to understand the main ideas, okay? Any questions? Then we will be answering question 5, okay? Which is the detailed question. We're gonna start by looking at detailed questions. So question 5 from that set. Detailed questions, as the name suggests, are the ones that are gonna ask you for specific details or specific facts from the text. Now for these questions, they are very direct. They want you to find information that is directly stated and directly mentioned in the passage. which means that you don't have to think that much. You just have to be very good at finding the information and paraphrasing it, okay? We will see how to actually answer. First thing, never read the options first, okay? In the beginning, when you are trying to answer these type of questions, you only read the question first. So we're gonna read the question. Victor, could you please read the question?
Sure. Which of the following allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors?
Thank you, Victor. That is the question. So before actually telling you how to answer these questions, I'm gonna give you guys a chance for you to try to figure it out. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes, read the text and let me know what you think. What would you say the answer to this question is? Okay, so please take a look. Okay, guys. So what would you say the answer is?
D.
Okay.
B.
B,
B.
right?
B.
Anyone else?
B.
B2, okay. Hey guys. So here's what you have to do when you have this type of questions. The first thing, how do you know that it's a detailed question, right? So like, I'm telling you it's a detailed question, but how would you know it's one when you see them in a set of 10 questions? First, you will notice that it's always asking about specific things. So the question words are gonna be how, where, when, why, what, who, I don't know, what year, those type of specific question words, right? They will ask about specific things. And second, it will be very direct. They are not telling you what can be implied, what is suggested, why does the author say this, right? They're not asking about like perhaps subjective things. They are very direct. They are asking you for some specific information that you have in the paragraph. Now, what do you do then when you have these questions? You read the question first, and you have to identify the keywords, the words that you consider are the most important related to the question. Now here, what they are really asking is, what allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge over its neighbors, right? So the keywords maybe could be allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge. Those are the keywords, right? Because that's what they're asking. What allowed Teotihuacan to have a competitive edge? What you need to do now that you know the keywords is look for those keywords or their synonyms in the text. In this case, it's pretty easy because you have a quote. This is in quotation marks. So a competitive edge over its neighbors, it's mentioned here. It's quite easy to find. It won't always be this easy. Sometimes you have synonyms instead of the same words, okay? But you need to understand the idea, not how the words look. Now that you found the keywords, you have to read the sentence or the sentences surrounding those keywords until you think that you find the answer. I would say that the big mistake that most students make here is trying to summarize the ideas or trying to draw conclusions. Those are the two things that you want to avoid doing here. You don't have to summarize the entire paragraph, and you don't have to draw any conclusions. You have to just find the answer. So my best tip, 90% of the time, the answer to the question will be very close to the keywords. Let's read. It says, it seems likely that Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city and its ability to recognize their potential, gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. Do you guys think that giving the city a competitive edge is the same or similar enough to allowing the city to have a competitive edge? Yes, right? It's almost the same. So there we have it. We have the answer. What gave the city or what allowed the city to have a competitive edge over its neighbors? The answer is Teotihuacan's natural resources, along with the city and its ability to recognize their potential, right? So what you have to do now that you have the answer is like phrase it in a simple way for you to understand. What gave the city a competitive edge? What allowed the city to have a competitive edge? Their natural resources and the ability to recognize their potential, right? And recognizing their potential, let's say. This is what gave the city a competitive edge over its neighbors. Do you guys agree with me on that? Is this the answer? Yes, right? What gave the city a competitive edge? Their natural resources and recognizing their potential. Now, it would be awesome if we had an option that said the same. But unfortunately, most of the time, you won't have an option with the same exact words. So what you need to do is find one that paraphrase what you already know is the answer. So you have to find the closest one to what you already have. Now let's look at the options. Now is when you have to start looking at them. Some of you guys said D. Option D says, scarce natural resources in nearby areas such as those located in what are now the Guatemalan and Mexican highlands. This seems very tempting because it contains the word natural resource, right? It looks good. It contains part of the answer. What gave the city a competitive edge? Natural resources. That's part of the answer, right? What about recognizing the potential? Maybe we can leave it behind. But before actually choosing D, you have to realize that option D contains more information than the one you have here. Because it's telling you, first of all, that these were scarce natural resources and that they were located in these areas. So you need to confirm and you need to double check that that information is correct. So tell me, were these natural resources actually scarce? Where in the paragraph do we have that? Were they scarce? No, right? They weren't. Because they actually said that the valley was rich in obsidian. So these weren't scarce resources, okay? If they were scarce, then I don't think they would have had this competitive edge, right? It doesn't make sense. So even though option D looks good because of the words it contains, the information is inaccurate. It's incorrect, right? These weren't scarce natural resources. They were abundant. They were rich in obsidian. Is that okay? Can we eliminate D then? Yes. All right. Now let's go for C. It says knowledge derived directly from the unflexible toolmaking. That has nothing to do with our answer, right? So toolmaking, knowledge, nope. We are looking for natural resources and the ability to recognize their potential. Now, option B looks good too, because it has the word elite. And part of our answer was the elite's ability to recognize their potential. But again, what about natural resources? Like, isn't that important? And second, do we really know if they were highly stable? We don't know anything about that, right? They just say that they were able to recognize the potential of the resources. So this has nothing to do with resources. We don't know that if they were stable or not. So I don't know. What about option A? What do you guys think of option A? What do you think of option A?
It paraphrase the original response.
Right. It paraphrase the original response. How? How is a readily available and well-exploited commodity related to natural resources and their potential?
Because a well explored, it looks like recognizing their potential of natural resources and also readily available to commodity. So it could be the natural resources in order to live better.
Great, Victor. Thank you. That's true. That's correct. Now, I know that firsthand, if you just look at the options, you will be like, that has, there's one thing in our brain that's, I think it's familiarity bias. So we are likely to choose options with that contain words that we are familiar with. So that means that contain words that you have read in the paragraph, right? And they are going to use that against you. Because look at option B, C, and D. I think they contain words that were mentioned in the paragraph, right? But option A, I don't think there's like one single word that was mentioned in the paragraph. But actually, option A is the correct response. So it's interesting because remember that you're not looking for the words, you're looking for the meaning of the words. And as Victor was saying, commodity basically means resources. It basically means the goods, the things that you possess, that you own. So commodity is just a synonym of the word resources. And readily available refers to the fact that they were natural. You know, they didn't work for them, they didn't produce them, they didn't like struggle to get these resources. It was something that came natural because they had those in the valley. So they were ready available and they were well exploited because they could recognize the potential that they had with the natural resources, right? So option A, although it doesn't look like a good option, is the correct. Whereas option B or D, for example, that contain some good words, have either inaccurate information, have missing information, or option C is not related, right? So don't focus too much on the words, focus on the ideas, okay? But that is the strategy. Look for the keywords, find the keywords in the paragraph, look for the answer, keep in mind what the answer is, and finding the options the correct paraphrase of that answer. Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about this one? No questions? Is everything clear? Do we all get why A is the correct answer? 100%? Let me know, guys, if there was something it wasn't clear. All right, that's great then. So based on that, you will answer this next question. Question 6, okay? So please use the same strategy. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to answer this question. Okay, guys, so what's the answer to this question?
D.
Do we all agree? Right, totally is D. We do the same, right? Recent research on Obsidian tools has shown that. So we have the keywords directly there. What has it shown? It's shown that some of the obsidian obtained by the Olmecs originated near Teotihuacan. It's the same as option D, right? Some of the obsidian used by the Olmecs came from or originated. The area around means near Teotihuacan. Is this okay? Everything clear?
Yes.
Great. Hey guys. Next question. Let's work on inference questions. Now, we're gonna be answering question 4 from this set. So, inference So, does anyone know what an inference is? What does it mean to infer something?
To understand something that that's not writing. There's not clear. Well, it's clear, but it's not directly saying.
Exactly, great. So when you make an inference, as Victor is saying, you come to a conclusion, you make an inference, you understand something that is not directly said to you or directly written in the text, that you have evidence to come to that conclusion, right? So there's certain pieces of evidence that demonstrate that what you're saying is coherent and makes sense. That's what you have to do for this type of question. Okay, so this is totally different than the detailed questions where it was direct. This is completely the opposite. This is indirect. Okay, so you have to find evidence so that you can conclude something. Let's take a look at this question. Alejandra, could you please read the question?
What can be inferred from paragraph 3 about Wilco prior to 2200 BC.
Okay. So we'll do the same. I'll give you guys 2 minutes so that you can answer this question. Okay, guys, what would you say the answer is then?
D.
Okay. Anyone else?
D.
Okay. Great. Can you guys tell me why?
Because in the paragraph says that around 2000 before Christ, Cuilco was affected by a volcanic eruption. So much of its agricultural and land covered by lava. That's why we can infer that before that eruption, Cuilco was an economic center and also have many agriculture.
Great, perfect. So totally true. That's a great explanation. So in order to approach these questions, first thing you need to make sure that you identify it's an inference question. But it's pretty obvious, right? In the question it says, what can be inferred? So you know it's an inference question. Now they are asking about Cuicuilco prior to 200 BC. In order to make an inference, to make a conclusion, first you need the facts, right? You need the evidence, and then you draw the conclusions. So the first thing you need to do is try to see what you know so far about Cuicuilco prior to this time. So what information do you actually have related to the topic that you can use to draw the conclusion? Now, what do we know about Cuicuilco prior to 200 BC? First thing we know is that it was the largest of those centers that coexisted in and near the Valley of Mexico, right? What is Cuicuilco? It was the largest of those centers that coexisted in and near the Valley of Mexico. Now, what else do we know? We know that something happened, a volcanic eruption happened, and Cuicuilco was seriously affected by this volcanic eruption. Why? Because their agricultural land was damaged. It was covered by lava. So after that happened, they were eliminated as a rival. So that means they went down, right? They were actually pretty good in the beginning, but the volcanic eruption happened. Their agricultural land was damaged, and they were too affected that they were eliminated as a rival. That's all we know about Cuicuilco prior to that time. Everything else is not about Cuicuilco anymore, right? Then they talk about other towns They talk about Teotihuacan, but we don't care about any of that information because we only care about Cuicuilco prior to this time. So that is what we know about Cuicuilco prior to that time. Now, based on that information, we need to choose the right one. Now, if we take a look at other options, like for example, option A, that says it was a fairly small city until that date. Like, first thing, I don't think it was a small city. It was the largest of those centers. And when they say until that date, that means that in 200 BC, they should have stopped being a small city and they should have become a larger city, right? But we don't know anything about that. It was actually the opposite. They were a large, like a relatively big city until the date, and then they went down, right? So option A is it's not true, and we don't have evidence to prove that. Option B says it was located outside the Valley of Mexico. How do we know that it was outside? Like they say that it was either in or near the Valley of Mexico. So Cuicuilco could have been inside the Valley of Mexico, or it could have been outside near the Valley of Mexico, right? You have both options, and you really don't have anything here that tells you where it was, right? So you don't know if it was in or out, inside or outside the Valley of Mexico, right? There's nothing that gives you that detail. So how can you make that inference? Like, what's gonna make you think that it was outside? And finally, it emerged rapidly as an economical and political center. This is the classical trick you have in TOEFL reading questions. They use words and phrases that you will be familiar with when you read so that you are tempted to choose them, right? Because option C was mentioned. Those words were mentioned, right? But they weren't talking about Cuicuilco. They were talking about other towns that emerged or that could have emerged as a leading economic and political power. They're not talking about Cuicuilco. I think they are talking about Teotihuacan later. Teotihuacan was the one that emerged rapidly as an economical and political center, not Cuicuilco. So we can eliminate option C. And option D, for the reasons that were already explained, is the correct one. Why? Because why is it that Cuicuilco was so affected by the volcanic eruption? Like maybe why is it that their cultural land, their agricultural land, being covered by lava was such a big deal for them? Why? Because their economy relied on agriculture, right? Agriculture was something important for them. So obviously, if a volcano comes and destroys all your land, and you depend on agriculture, then that's not gonna turn out good for you, right? So option D is the correct one. Their agricultural land was covered by lava, and that's the reason why they were so affected. And why is that? Because they relied heavily, strongly on agriculture, right? It was one of the main, maybe, economic forces in the city. Is that okay? Does it make sense? Do you guys have any questions about this one?
No, teacher.
Nope.
In clear, everyone?
Okay. It's okay.
Okay, that's great. So in this case, you don't have to find information, you have to draw your own conclusions. Okay. So We're gonna continue working on the reading the whole week. We're gonna be looking at the other types of questions too. And if we have enough time, we'll practice too. But the good thing is, in terms of the reading section, you can also practice on your own, right? And it's just a matter of you can use the software that we have for the simulation tests, because you have like 10 complete practice sets there. So that is like 10 times 3 or 4, like 35 complete reading passages to add. Right? But the important thing is that we see these strategies on how to answer each question. Okay? Is that okay? Do you guys have any questions about what we did today?
No, teacher.
Oh, everything's correct, everything's good. Okay, guys, then please, before you leave, don't forget to fill out today's survey. And I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. Continue working on the reading.
Teacher, I have a question.
Yes.
You said that there is a page to practice. What is the page?
Okay. So I was referring to in our website, executiveenglisheducation.com. Yeah, in the fourth section, now go here. Here in the fourth section, you have Simulación TOEFL. So if you go there, you will find 2 programs that you can run on your computers. And you have the tutorial on how to run the programs and how to install them and everything that you need to do. And in these 2 programs or 2 softwares, you have 5 complete tests in each software. So that makes a total of 10 complete tests. And that's great material for you to practice because it's official from the ETS. So it means it's actually similar to what you have in the real test. And it's for free. So you can download those programs.
Okay.
Sure, I can send you the link, you guys. Okay, guys. Any other question? Okay, guys, then I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye, teacher.